Today we're going to be discussing the use of horses, cavalry, the benefits of them. Because all throughout history, you have horses, whether it's the Battle of Megadudu or if it's in the Second and First World War. We're seeing the use of cavalry, horses. Now, what is a horse and what does it do specifically? It allows you to move quickly, long distances, or carrying a lot of equipment faster. Horses are used to deliver messages, fight, carry things. There's a whole wide variety of horses. You can take them in the back country where you cannot get four-wheelers or modern equipment. You can take horses a lot of places. You can do a lot of things with horses. Now, for the longest time, we can see horses being used for war, agriculture, you name it, they're being used. Food. Now, as we discuss the primary benefits of using horses in warfare, you have to understand that horses themselves can be trained to a high level. There's stories I've read about horses that during the incursion that they got in a fight with, their riders became dismounted and they had such a bond that they would charge other horses and knock them over so their rider would not be injured. There's instances of that happening. Now, that's a high level IQ of a horse. You have to train it to do that, always being around it, being with it. You don't see that much nowadays because we moved away from the horse to machinery. Not saying they're obsolete, but they still can be used. I mean, there's early in the 2000s, there was the Green Berets who fought in the Middle East using horses with the some of the tribes, those high mountain tribes. I don't want to say a tribe and be completely wrong, but there's very few tribes. They're fighting the Taliban. I remember that part. The Green Berets embedded with the local tribes, and that was modern day. Now, the horse allows for movement. The Apaches would use them as mobile food. When the time came, they'd use them to eat. So many applications for a horse. But we start to see the shift with the saddle because you need less horsemanship to ride with the saddle. The saddle helps hold you in place. With the horn, you can pull on. That was a major. Before that, it was bareback. Riding bareback on a horse takes a different type of skill. Your leg muscles have to be extremely strong, have to have good balance. And then there comes fighting with no reins. If you're able to fight on your horse with both hands, that's a big advantage. Not even using your reins at all. But that becomes with work, well-skilled horses. Being able to turn your horse with your thighs. It takes a lot of training, a lot of time. When you have large armies starting to fight each other with 10,000 mounted soldiers in Napoleon's time, it's tough to have each and one of those horses trained like that. But that's where the saddle comes in. When the saddle was invented, that changed all of that. You didn't have to have those as strong leg muscles. You didn't need to have as firm balance. You could pull on the horn. And with the stirrups, you can put all your weight on one side of the horse and still be on him. You can stand completely off the horse, not on the horse at all, but be on one side, and the stirrup will still hold you on. So the stirrup and the saddle came at different times. The saddle came first. Later on, we start seeing the stirrup come in, and the stirrup would start to determine and win major battles because when you start getting into those large numbers of 1,000, 3,000, 10,000 mounted fighters, and one side has the stirrup and the other side doesn't, that's a big advantage. Big advantage. You may think it's a small technology advancement, but that small technological advancement plays a huge factor on the battlefield because now all your riders just gained, whether it's 5 or 10 years of balance on the horse with just the stirrup because you don't have to have all those muscles now. The stirrup provides that. So stirrup, major advancement for the saddle. Then we start breaking off into different types of saddles. We have your Western saddles with just the horn. Then we have your hunter's saddle, the European style, where it's a hole and it allows you to lay down lower so you can shoot your shots with the arrows, right? You have all these different advancements in saddles and they start going all different directions like a tree branch. But essentially, the saddle does play a major factor in horsemanship. And then the invention of horseshoes. Now, I'm not for or against horseshoes. There's the debate on both sides. One side saying that horseshoes allow your horse to go over a lot more rough terrain and helps them keep groomed, and there's the whole works of durability. The other argument is horseshoes, like us, when we wear shoes, make our feet more tender. We can barely go any places without them. If you go your whole life without shoes, you'll be all right. Horses' feet are made already with the shoe on it. It's just adding extra to it. Now, I was told that once you do shoe your horse, you have to always shoe him for the rest of your life. Not always, but it's a good habit to shoe him. Once you shoe him, you have to keep continuously doing it. You have to keep trimming them. Now, the debate can go both sides. I've been around horses all my life. I've only seen shoeing get done. I've never participated in it. The scraping, because you can make a horse lame if you don't do it properly. Cold shoeing, hot shoeing, different methods. It goes deeper. Horse care, horsemanship. Because not being able to a good rider is just one part, but taking care of your horse is another factor that goes into horsemanship. Now, shoeing horses is a debate that can go either way. I'm not here or against it. I think if you're racing horses in the modern era, it's good to always have your horses shoed if you're racing them. But if you're trying to cross the mountains with a Mustang and you got a 3,000 mile journey, it's gonna be tough to always find a shoer. Sure, there's other ways you can go about it. Getting rawhide and wrapping it around your horse's foot to help protect it for longer durability. Putting glue on there, horse glue on the foot to help keep it sewed together. I mean, there's so many methods. So you gotta, what is the purpose of your horse? For thousands of years, people didn't use shoes on horses. It's just a modern thing. I mean, if you look in Mongolia, they make their shoes. They literally melt with cast iron the shoes of a horse and then pound it out, make it. It's a beautiful way to just watch how they do it out of aluminum. So, what is your horse for? Changes on the shoes. Also, your horse. Genetics play a big factor into it. What type of horse is it going to be? I've come to understand this is what I've seen. I've worked with a lot of Spanish barbs. I worked with them in Europe. I worked with them here in America. And the one thing I've come to see is a Spanish barb. This is my theory on it now. The Spanish barb has been bred, Spanish horses in general were bred for the conquistadors, which were made for war for so long that it became instinctively and genetically passed down to them, genetic memory, that they can rear up easier to strike. So they're able to rear up naturally and strike the enemy. That's what they're bred for, war, originally. The Spanish horse was originally bred for that. Now, I've seen this working with a lot of Spanish barbs that they rear up naturally. It's a lot easier for them to do that than, say, opposed to a thoroughbred or a different other horse. They're smaller in stature, to give or take. Now, war horses have been prized for thousands of years. A good war horse will either bring you back alive or won't. That's why people have paid so much for such a good horse. War horses. What do you want in a war horse? Because different horses have different, right? Now, this plays exactly into war. If you're delivering messages long distances, you're not going to choose a quarter horse. Quarter horse is made for sprinting. If you're trying to pony express it long distances, you're going to choose a horse that can go a long ways for a good speed. So you're going to start breaking out into different types of horses. Me personally, I think the best horse for distance is a Mustang. No doubt in my mind. Sure, thoroughbreds are made for racing long distances, but that's only on a mile track. Maybe 5 miles. That's pushing it. But if you want to go long ways, you take a Mustang. If you're delivering messages a long distance, you choose a Mustang. Now, if you're using your horse specifically for melee battle, I'd assume you choose a Spanish Barb. Right? They have different purposes, different uses, and that factors into war. If you have all these messengers and you're trying to deliver hand messages because you don't want to use radio calls because your frequencies might be compromised, and you have to go over terrain that a car wouldn't be able to. Horses. Choose your horse wisely. Now, this goes into logistics, OPSEC, and all that. Now, I mean, in Saudi Arabia, you can see it. The Arabian horses, prized, very well prized, sought after for different things. You have, this is one of my favorite horses, just on pure looks. Some pure looks is, that's a tough one, but has to be all black Parisians. I think they're gorgeous. The hair is super long. It's look gorgeous horses. And then you get into, let's say the next runner up for beautiful horses would probably be, I like a nice medicine hat horse. Those look cool to me. What's a medicine hat horse? So their whole body's one color and their head is a different color, essentially. Those look beautiful to me. In terms of looks, we're not talking durability or usage. We're just talking looks. Parade. Arabians are third on that list. Bloodlines of horses, papered horses go a long ways. They play into war. Can you use them in today's wars? Yeah, most certainly. Most certainly, you can use them in today's wars. Not on the large scale as we did in the past, but definitely on a minor scale would make things more efficient. They still use horses in New York City. The police do. How would I use them in today's wars? Depends on the battles. Depends on the wars. Every general loses this current battle because he thinks he's fighting the last war. So it'd be circumstance. If my comms were compromised, I would use, and I had to get them across to an area discreetly, I'd use a horse. Why not use a car? Horse can go where cars can't. That's one way. Another way would be, well, recon. Doing recon would be another one. Absolutely use horses in recon. That's the best way. For those who don't know what recon is, that is a scout essentially. You're scouting an area out, or you're observing an area and then reporting back, or you're setting up you're setting up an ambush with recon with your recce group, and they're infiltrating into an area. They take their horses halfway, leave one guy there, and then the rest of the group infills, sets up the ambush, exfils out, hops on the horses, boogie on out. Right? Those are small instances that you would use a horse, special forces type shit. Another way, propaganda. You would use horses in propaganda all the time. You see Putin using horses in his propaganda, where he's riding a horse, no shirt on. showing a strong leader. Napoleon also had the same way, where he's rearing up on a white horse. There's a famous painting. He's rearing up on the horse and he's looking at everybody and he's pointing, right, to show strength. When Vercingetorix surrendered to Julius Caesar, there's that other famous painting. He's on a horse, but he's throwing his sword at the feet of Julius Caesar. Right? Horses have so much symbolism, so you can use it in propaganda to the max. I imagine there's other small ways I haven't really thought about in deep detail how you can use a horse. I mean, in World War One and Two, they used it to pull supplies. When machinery is getting bogged down, they'd use it to pull the machines out. Nowadays, you just strap up a bunch of four-wheelers. Hmm. Every animal has their use in place. Every mission has its use in place. Now, horses, beautiful, majestic creatures. You could even use them as a therapy animal. Here's the way I just thought of. You can use them as a therapy animal for soldiers coming back from a war. Horse camp. That'd be a way. I mean, there's so many ways you can use them for a war, at least. Campaigning. Anyways, that's all I have for today on horses. There's so much you can cover on horses. It's just tough to get and break it down right now. But like and subscribe, check us out on Rumble, and check out our other pages. Till next time, guys.